Are you over 50, single, and want to find a partner, but almost ready to give up? Well, today we are going to talk with the world's first dating coach, Evan Marc Katz, who's going to share with us what men over 50 are really looking for. Hi, Mark. Mark, I'm calling you Mark. I should call you Evan? Would you use the whole?
I've been called by the wrong name so many times, but yes, my name is just Evan.
Just Evan. Okay, yeah. Just Evan, just Jack. I love that. Just Evan. So welcome, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, let's dive in, because this topic is something that truly every dinner I go to that single women show up, we talk about it because we don't understand it. We don't get it. We don't know what the heck is wrong, what we're doing wrong. Where are we? So what are men looking for?
That's a pretty broad statement. I don't know if I would, I don't think I would encapsulate it as what are men looking for, because people aren't monolithic. Right. But we can certainly make generalizations. And sure. I will take the somewhat controversial stance of saying that I don't think there's a huge difference between what men are looking for at age 40 or 50 or 60.
Oh, really?
Yeah, people make a real big deal about age, and age is a thing. I mean, someone in their 70s is going to have to worry about erectile dysfunction, where someone in their 20s is going to worry about getting a career. There's obviously different challenges.
Sure,
but the interpersonal dynamics of what makes relationships work,
okay,
pretty universal.
Okay.
Men want to be accepted, appreciated, and admired.
You talked about that in a podcast that I watched a while ago. Go through each of those, because I think we need some examples of what does it mean, and how do you do it? Because truly, how do you share that with a man? Because many of us, myself included, were married a long time. And so to some extent kind of feels like flirting. And we maybe have lost our flirt abilities.
No, again, and I hear you. And anybody who's been in a rough marriage that ended is going to have strong feelings about that, and that's the lens through which they view the world. Yeah. Right. Oh, I never want to get married again. No, you just don't want to marry your ex-husband again. There's nothing wrong with marriage. You just don't want that marriage. So we get very emotional, and I try to be just a little bit more rational about it.
Yeah.
There are pretty universal desires. When I say men want to feel accepted, appreciated, and admired, that doesn't mean that women don't want that.
Sure.
Right. And I say women want to feel safe, heard, and understood. Doesn't mean men don't want that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Absolutely.
More, right. If you're in a relationship with a man who doesn't call you, doesn't text you, doesn't see you, doesn't want to commit to you, is constantly critical of you, can you feel safe, heard, and understood?
Of course not. Yeah.
Of course not. So plenty of women choose men because he's tall or smart or funny or whatever that you're attracted to. Mm-hmm. And then the undercurrent of the entire relationship is, here's what I don't like about you. Right. And here's how you need to change for me. Right. And that is the constant drumbeat of millions of marriages. I love you, but I want you to be someone other than who you are.
Yeah.
And no one, man or woman, gets married to someone for constant constructive criticism about your perception of what I could do better.
Right. Right.
Marriage, people who do it right, they know what their partner's flaws. They could joke about it, but fundamentally, marriage is about acceptance and tolerance. Mm-hmm. And the reason, sincerely, it's no faint praise to my wife. The reason I married my wife after going out with 300 people from online dating over 10 years, first person who accepted me.
For who you are.
Yeah. Not, Evan, I think you're perfect. You're God's gift to man. But Evan, you're good. I could do this.
Yeah. Okay.
So what a lot of men can't even articulate is how, because guys will go online and what are they looking for? They're looking for young and thin and pretty, right?
Yep.
And women go online and they're looking for tall and rich and smart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what we're not doing is paying attention to the feelings. Men want to be accepted. Women want to feel safe. It's pretty fair. It's pretty universal. And there's nothing that is contraindicated. There's no reason you can't be a smart, strong, successful woman and still be really nice to your husband. And there's no reason that he can't be a captain of industry and still listen to you after the end of your hard day, even if he has a more impressive job. These things do not contradict each other.
Sure. Shouldn't. I think sometimes they do. I'm going to go off on a tangent, but sometimes
It's your show. Go.
No, but sometimes the kind of the CEO has a whole different persona and expectation of the people around him than somebody who wasn't a CEO, as an example. So when you go smart, you want smart, you want rich, you want successful, you want the whole package.
Who is you in this case, the man or the woman?
The woman. That's what the woman wants and doesn't understand what that because I believe I don't date CEOs who are women. I was married to a CEO that was a man for a long time, and I think that's a different category. And so when you said a CEO who communicates that they are accepting and caring and aware of your needs and create a safe space, are there differences so that if a woman says, I only want this kind of guy, all based on his resume, do we get in trouble? Is that how we sometimes get in trouble?
What you're saying, right, through your experience is something that I try to say in my Love You course. Good qualities come with bad qualities.
Okay.
Right? And you don't get the Marlboro Man and the sensitive artist in one package. And if he's going to be a CEO and he's going to have the life and he's going to take you on the fancy trips and get you the nice jewelry, well, he might work 60 hours a week and he might be really arrogant and bossy. And he might not think that you're his top priority because he's got employees to take care of. And those go together.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't get the good without the bad. And that's everything. That's every man. That's every woman. And we need to recognize that you can't just find a guy with all good qualities, because if he is a self-made millionaire, he's not home at 5 to massage your feet.
Right.
And if he's the strong, silent type, well, he doesn't want to listen to your feelings. Yeah. So I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm saying that we have to figure out what things we can and can't compromise. And a lot of people get those things wrong, men included. I coach women, but I'd be the first to tell a man, find a woman, not who is a size 2, find a woman who accepts you in full. That should be the first thing you're looking for. Sure. If men listen to me, that's what I would tell them.
But so often, and this is coming from women that I know that are single and of a certain age, they talk about how they feel like the men, and I'm generalizing, that the men that they go out with or the men that they see on their on various online profiles are looking for that size 2, are looking for that 30-year-old, even though they have children, they have grown children. So it's not about procreation.
Right. And I hear you. You're right. I, as proud as I am of being a dating coach for 20 years, I'm not God. I don't get to control what men do. Sure, you don't get to control what men do. Waving our finger at them doesn't change anything. And if you dated women, you would have a slightly different set of complaints. If you're a guy who is a great guy, just good to the core, knows how to treat a woman with respect, kind, self-sacrificial, sensitive, funny, right? But he's 5'7", you're not going to give him a chance. Right? So how is that any different?
Right. Okay.
Same thing. We just have different things that we're looking for, that we insist. I can't help what I'm attracted to. I just need a man who's taller. I can't be attracted to a man who makes less money than me.
Okay. Yeah.
You can't? You sure? I can't help it. It's primal. It's just, all right. Well, then it's primal for him to want a 27-year-old with thin waist and big boobs. Right. So we have the right to say, hey, that's not working for us. If I were coaching men, I'd say date women your own age. Yeah. Find someone you find attractive, who digs you, who allows you to be yourself and let down your guard, doesn't judge you, doesn't criticize you, doesn't constantly make you walk on eggshells and apologize and break up and make up. Choose someone who's fundamentally happy. Yeah. And you can reason with and disagree with without it blowing up. Start there. And if she happens to be younger and if she happens to be thinner, it's a bonus. And I'd say the same thing to women. Find a guy who makes you feel safe, heard, and understood. Find a guy who's got character and kindness and consistency and communication and commitment. And it's a bonus if he makes more. It's a bonus if he's 6 feet.
Sure.
It's a bonus if he has a master's degree. But when you go online looking for those qualities, well, that's how you end up here today, where everybody's complaining that there's no one good. And it's not true.
Okay. So what I hear you also say is, as a woman who's single, it doesn't matter what age, figure out what it is that's really important to you and take away the 6 feet Marlboro man or whatever you called them. But those qualities that are kind of resume-like or something that someone can't do anything about.
Yes. And did you ever read Lori Gottlieb? Do you know Lori?
Lori Gottlieb.
She wrote Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, a really great book about therapy. It was a New York Times bestseller.
Yes.
She writes the Dear Therapist column for The Atlantic. Her previous book was called Marry Him, and I coached her while she was writing that book.
Oh, fabulous.
And she's an old friend. Okay. And the thing that was striking, because she's Yale, she's Stanford, she sold her childhood diaries to Hollywood. She's intellectual superstar. And she was holding out for the male version of her until one day she realized she was looking for a guy who didn't exist. Right. And she got some sperm and became a single mom. And now in her mid-50s, she's still a single mom. Never actually. She wrote the book as a cautionary tale for what happens when you overvalue credentials and you undervalue character traits. So we could say, women in general have to focus on what is important to them. The problem is not everything is of equal value. Someone will place love of skiing, right, on the same plane as wants to get married.
Sure.
As long as he likes to ski, it's okay if he'll never commit to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As long as he's hot, I could put up with the fact that he yells at me and makes me feel small. Yeah. Right? So we compromise on the wrong things. Things you never compromise on. And I said it before, I'll say it again so you can write it down. Character, kindness, consistency, communication, commitment. Because you could find our top chef, supermodel, Rhodes Scholar. But if you can't reason with him when you're upset, who cares how great he is?
Right.
You could, there's no such thing as a happy Mrs. Elon Musk or a happy... Things don't exist.
No.
So we tend to overvalue these external traits when we go online and we look for, I've worked with women for 20 years. They look at his face and then they scroll down to see how much money he makes. I'm not judging you for it. I'm only pointing out that how many rich guys who treat you poorly do you have to date to realize if you make $200,000, guess what? If he makes $100,000, you just got a raise.
Yeah, that's true.
You combine your resources. He's not a loser. He's not some dude busking for quarters on the subway.
Right.
And then figure this out, believe it or not. There's no man out there who's like, I need a woman who makes more than I do.
Okay.
Right? So what is that about? Are we equals or not?
Oh, I'm going to push back, though. I don't know that men figured that out. I think there is an ego component to a man saying, if I make 100,000, I'm the man, and I'm dating a woman who makes 200 or 500 or $1 million. I'm completely intimidated, and I'm going to move on.
But that's not who your husband is. This is my point.
Okay.
Let insecure men eliminate themselves. They exist.
Okay.
We don't get to eradicate them. I'm saying with the guy, and I'm using myself as an example because it's easier. I've never been intimidated by a smart, strong, successful woman. It's why I coach them.
Right.
So a guy like me, if I meet a woman who makes more money than I do, are you going to look down at me?
Sure.
The problem isn't mine. The problem is yours, because you seem to have this 1950s worldview that a man should protect and provide for you. Well, you have your own home. You got your master's degree. You happen to choose a career in finance that makes $1 million a year, and I don't have that job. So I'm not insecure. You're looking down at me. And those two things make up the real worldview. Women are very focused on men who are intimidated, right? Great. Don't date those men. Okay. Now we've eliminated those men. Men who are not intimidated by you, are you still going to judge them because he chose to be a high school English teacher and soccer coach?
Right.
Who has his summers off, has a pension, right? Are you going to pass up that guy? Because I'll tell you, men will date women who are high school English teachers and soccer coaches.
Absolutely.
So what's the difference?
Yeah. Well, that's a really good question. But you said something about the 50s, and I thought that was really interesting because I think there's something to that, that even though women have progressed in many areas, both educationally as well as career-wise, income as a accompaniment, there is to some extent that 50s mentality, and you're going to say something. Jump in.
No, I wanted to. I mean, I know where I want to go, but I wanted you to finish what you had to say.
Well, part of it for me is I've lost my train of thought there. I'm trying to think. We're living longer, and there's a divorce rate out there that's pretty high. And it's lower? Or you're telling me it's gone down?
Lower and lower.
Lower and lower. But that might be because we're not getting married as much.
Yes, marriage is now a luxury good. Marriage is for the educated and wealthy.
Right. Okay.
And
so
if you're college educated over 30 and you get married, the divorce rate's 20%.
Okay. Interesting. But is there another category of relationships? And bear with me. So sure. That if you're really in this mindset that, oh gosh, this 50s mentality, we need to get married. I need a commitment. I need a ring on my finger. We need to live together. And yet when I talk to some of the men who have been through a couple of divorces, it's pretty tough. They've split assets up. Their comments back are, I don't want to get married again. I just can't do that. I don't necessarily even want to live together, but I want a committed relationship. Is that, you're making a face, is that the new relationship? Is it something that we need to embrace as women?
No. I mean, I'm laughing because I have this conversation every day. I have this conversation last night at 6:00 with 30 women on Zoom.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very, very normal conversation.
Okay.
And I'm married for 15 years. I don't have a stake in this. If anything, I try to be as neutral as I can and listen to women and listen to men, be sort of like a translator. We talked about safe, heard, and understood versus accepted, appreciated, admired, right? There's a Venn diagram where we need to find those things that overlap. Sure. So this is one of those conversations where everybody's informed emotionally by their experience, right? Definitely. But it doesn't always adhere to logic or facts. Mm-hmm. And I just want to bring some logic and facts back to it.
Okay.
So women initiate 2/3 of divorces.
Interesting.
Okay. And we can, again, and I'm not on a team. Yeah. Why do women initiate 2/3 of divorces? A lot of men have low EQs. Yeah. They're not capable of being great partners. In fact, I go so far as to say that 90% of men are incapable of being a great partner.
Wow.
Now, again, that's not a real number. I made that up.
Right.
But in my experience, maybe it's because I coach women. My observation is if you go on a dating site and you scroll through 10 guys, 9 of them, absolutely not.
Okay.
Right? So let's start there. Most people are not capable of building a successful long-term relationship. So when people, men and women, get married, but they are constitutionally incapable of operating from a place of trust, having a sense of confidence, knowing how to communicate in an effective manner, not bailing on a relationship, not shutting down, not yelling, not calling names, right? How many people grew up in really stable, secure environments that they could replicate? Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of people who, through no fault of their own, aren't great partners. Yeah. If you date men, men are the antagonists. If you date women, women are the antagonists. Right? I mean, anything to argue with so far?
No.
Right? So you have a lot of people who get married to the wrong person based on, we were both 25 and we're dating for 3 years. Or, we accidentally got pregnant. Or She had everything on the checklist. Right? And then real life reveals these two people aren't well matched. And so then they break up, right? Two kids, they break up in their late 30s, and then they start over. And what do? They overcorrect. The woman who dated a man who had no money, she's now looking for money. The man who had no attraction to his wife is looking for attraction.
Yeah.
And then what do? They marry money. They marry attraction. Well, guess what? Money and attraction doesn't make a successful relationship. Now you got a rich douchebag of a husband who's never available to you.
Right.
Now you have incredible sex, but she's crazy and she yells at you all the time. Okay.
Right.
So now I've been divorced twice.
Yep.
And what do I conclude? Marriage sucks.
Right.
This has nothing to do with marriage.
Sure.
You made bad choices.
Yeah. That's
right?
true.
And again, and no one wants to feel that, but if you make good choices, marriage is the best thing in the world. If you make a bad choice, it's the worst thing in the world. There's not a problem with marriage. So back to the original statistic. Sorry, I'm going on a rant here.
I love it.
Women initiate 2/3 of divorces.
Right.
Men are not. There's a valid reason that a lot of men are not capable of this. He's happy because he's getting fucked and fed. But she's completely miserable within the relationship. And she's like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
After that, who's open to remarriage? You just said men aren't open to remarriage. Men are more open to remarriage than women because they didn't have a problem with marriage in the first place. So 2/3 of men are open to remarriage. Less than 50% of women want to get remarried. Why? Because they associate marriage with their terrible ex-husband.
Right.
Even though their feelings are just about their ex-husband. It's not about marriage.
Right.
So they've now given up on marriage because they married poorly. And so now we have people saying in their 50s and 60s, I never want to get married again. And so I come to you and to them with this thought experiment. For this conversation, I am now God. I'm going to wave my magic wand and Sharri, I just sent you a man. And because I'm God, I guarantee he's going to make you happy for the rest of your life. That's part of being omniscient and omnipotent.
Okay.
I'm going to send you a man to have and to hold, richer for poorer, sickness and health till death do you part. You're going to be the little hunched old couple holding hands that everybody looks at how cute they are. And you're going to die in your sleep when you're 90.
Okay. Does
anybody say no to that?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you. So you do want to get married. That's the point.
Yeah.
That is the point.
Okay.
You want to get married. You just don't want to have a bad marriage. And I completely understand.
Yeah.
But everybody's talked themselves into, I don't want to get married. No, you want to get married. You just want to do it right. And that is literally my job, is not to get people married, to get people happily married so they could have the next third of their life, the next 25, 30 years, and have it be so much better than the last 25 and 30 years.
So how do you get in that space where you're meeting good people? Because online dating you'd think would make it easier. In some ways it's more complicated. It feels more complicated. Would you agree?
It's probably like anything else. We already talked about good qualities coming with bad qualities.
Yeah.
So if you don't have online dating, you are relying on what to meet men?
Coincidence, friends, family, work.
How is that working?
Yeah, not so great. Yeah.
Right. So online dating was created to solve a problem.
Right.
Just like cell phones and texting and social media. It was created to connect us. It created a different set of problems. We're addicted to our phones.
Sure.
We get misinformation. We feel bad about ourselves because other people's lives look better. So it was created for one thing. Now there's a downside. Online dating is no different. It was created to make it easy to meet other single people. The downside is every man and every woman has infinite numbers of choices. So it's a lot harder to focus on one person.
That's true.
And so everybody gets treated as disposable because they are.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not like a blind online dating advocate. I know all of its flaws, but we don't get to put that genie back in the bottle.
Yeah.
So anybody is like, Evan, I want a husband. I want to fall in love. I want a partner. I want everything with a marriage without a piece of paper. That's just a marriage, really. So I want all of it, but I don't want to date online. I'll tell all my clients, if you can get yourself 1 date a week without online dating, we never have to go online.
Yeah. But
Ever.
It's pretty.
But no one has ever taken me up on it.
No.
I show people how to date online more effectively, the same way a personal trainer shows you how to use the gym more effectively. Anybody could go to the gym, stand on a treadmill and read a magazine. And then you see someone who's in there and the trainer's looking over their shoulder and showing them how to use proper form and pushing them to do an extra rep. And
right.
There's technique, there's a skill to dating, and most people don't have it and they don't have the patience for it. So basically, I just take this skill set, and when we look at dating like a skill set, like playing piano, like, oh, I could do this better. I could write a better profile. I could post better photos. I could flirt with men better. I could screen out the losers better. There's a way to do that. Yeah, of course there's a way to do that.
So what is that program? Tell everyone.
My program's called Love You. It is a all-in-one comprehensive course that teaches women everything you need to know about dating, relationships, and men. The first month is on confidence and belief. If you don't believe there's any good guys out there, it's really hard to date. So this first month, we really work on confidence and belief and letting go of all those things from your past. I hate men. I hate marriage. I hate online dating. That doesn't serve you well, even though you have a very real reason for feeling those things.
Right.
Right.
I do.
Second month is on meeting men online and off. Third month is on dating, the stuff you're talking about between when you meet a guy and when you decide to become a couple. And then the second half of the course is on relationships, understanding men, relationships, and commitment are the last 3 months of the course. And you have lifetime access to the course, and there's a private Facebook group, and we have 2-hour group coaching calls with, 25, 30 women across the top of Zoom answering questions. So that was what I was referring to last night. I got 25, 30 women who have these kind of questions, the same we're talking about here. And when we could have these conversations, it's so easy to be more successful in relationships. It's astonishing how people think that this is the existential question, the one thing that they can't solve. It's like someone goes on WebMD, doctor, I think I've got a really weird disease. And the doctor's like, you actually have a cold. Here's some Robitussin. It's not that confusing.
Yeah, but we get ourselves all caught up because just what you described in your course, getting past some of those false beliefs that we hold on to because of the experiences we've had creates the groundwork. And then we go out and find people to prove that our beliefs are correct.
Very, very, very well said. And I think the hardest part about that is you don't have to deny anybody's experiences or beliefs. But we always have to come back to ourselves, right? So I'll use my wife, for example. Before me, she was with men for 13 out of 14 years, like her entire adult life. She's in relationships, single for a month, back in another relationship. What is my wife attracted to? Charisma. What do we know about a lot of charismatic guys? They're narcissists and cheaters. So if my wife has gone out with 3 straight cheaters and married one of them, what does that say about me as an individual? Nothing. I have nothing to do with the 3 men she dated.
Right.
But if her worldview, as it was at a time, was all men cheat, and she's got evidence to support that, no, you're attracted to charismatic men. You don't care too much about their character. You choose cheaters. Yeah. That doesn't say anything about all the non-cheating men, which is the majority of men.
Interesting.
So we become convinced, and again, this is a hard thing to articulate. You don't attract the wrong men. You choose and accept the wrong men. If you choose emotionally unavailable men, right, that says nothing about men. Yeah. You have made peace with the fact that the guy you're seeing is only going to text you once every 3 days. You've made peace with the fact that you're the once a week Friday night sex friend. You've made peace with the fact that you could be with him for a year and a half and his profile's still up, or that you could date him for 4 years and he's never proposed. If you've chosen and doubled down on that guy, of course, you're going to think that's the way men are.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you stop choosing that guy, guess what? Those guys can't hurt you anymore.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. We stop people from making mistakes in the first month of dating, so they're not asking themselves this question 7 years later. I can't believe I ended up with a toxic narcissist who didn't want to commit. Well, we could have figured that out in the first 6 weeks of dating.
Yeah. Yeah. But you have to, it feels like, and that's probably part of your course, is really to find out, explore, what is it you go after? What is it that you are attracted to? Because it does happen over and over and over.
But that doesn't take a lot of time.
Oh,
Like I
really?
spent 5 years in therapy, right? And I could get on the phone with them for an hour and tell them, because therapy is very, it's softer. And God bless therapists. I have a therapist. I believe in it, but it's a softer thing. And they're looking at your past. Who hurt you? Why are you this way? What did your parents do to you? How did your ex screw you up? And I'm future focused. Whoever screwed you up, this is cognitive behavioral therapy. Whoever screwed you up, we're not going to fix it, right? If you're attracted to men who abandoned you like your dad, okay, great. What are we going to do now? Are we going to keep on valuing men who are aloof and indifferent? Or are we going to value a guy who calls you every day instead of running from the guy who calls you every day?
Sure, sure. That's interesting. Really an interesting concept. So you're in LA. What do you think of the Golden Bachelor?
I haven't watched The Golden Bachelor. Bachelor shows tend to be too much like my day job, where you watch everybody make sort of cringeworthy decisions, and you're like, "Oh God, I wish I could help you." I do that from 9 to 6. I don't need more of it. I will probably check it out just to be culturally literate, but removing the golden part from The Golden Bachelor, I'm glad it exists because it speaks to a cohort of people who are usually ignored. So I'm glad it exists. The concept of The Bachelor is so impossibly dumb, right? That
I agree. Yeah.
I understand why people watch it, why they're entertained by it, why it's compelling, how it deals with real human emotions.
Right.
Here's a hypothetical. You've already known me with my silly hypotheticals and metaphors. There's a dating site, Sharri. It's got one guy on it.
Yeah. That's him.
You don't get to look at the guy. You just go to the dating site. Trust me, sign up for the dating site. There's one guy on the dating site. Whoever it is, you're going to fall in love with him.
That's a faulty premise.
And that is The Bachelor.
Yeah.
You're going on a dating site. You don't know who's on the dating site. Whoever it is, you're going to fall in love with by the end. Yeah. That is no one would ever go on a dating site with one man, even if he's a good-looking man. Yeah. There's one guy, whoever he is, you better like him, because by the end of the show, you're going to marry him. And you're going to marry him in like 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Could that possibly be a good decision? Is there a reason that these relationships don't work out? Of course there are.
Sure.
You would never have someone hand you a husband, sight unseen, nor would you marry anybody in 10 weeks if you got a half a brain.
Oh, good Lord.
The very premise of the show is so horribly flawed, but I get why it's compelling.
It's entertainment, and I guess that's the way we need to look at it.
But we emotionally invest in it.
We do. Yeah.
Right. And so to me, I literally, I've been asked to be on, on these kind of shows to host or to coach or, there was I think I've lost track because there's so many, but either like
the matchmaker one.
Love is Blind, or the one where you marry someone that you've never seen before. I mean, I don't watch the shows, but I won't go on them out of principle.
Yeah.
I don't believe in the premise. Dating should take place over a 2+ year period.
Sure.
Right? Where you're really vetting each other for the most important job of either of your lives. Mm-hmm. You're building the foundation of your life. You're commingling finances. You're being someone's medical contact form. And when people get older, you know what they do? They revert back to their teenage years. That's the craziest part about it. Evan, I'm smarter now. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm looking for. Well, if you did, the second divorce rate wouldn't be 66%, and the third marriage divorce rate wouldn't be 75%.
Oh my God.
So everybody thinks that they know more. Evan, I don't have time to waste. Right now, I feel it. He's my soulmate. Right. Wow. And she marries the guy in 8 months. My mom did this.
Okay.
Marries the guy in 8 months, and then 2 years later, they're divorced because guess what? You don't know someone in 8 months.
No.
So people say, I'm getting older. I know myself better. I have less time. They make quicker decisions. They make worse choices. And that's why second, third marriages have a higher divorce rate.
Divorce rate. Fascinating. Fascinating, but also a little bit sad that we don't get smarter with each one, because we don't take the pause and figure out, what in the world did I do here? Why did I choose this person?
If anything, we get calcified. We get stuck in our ways. We think again, when you're of a certain age, I'm 51. You feel like you know yourself. You feel like, I know what I like. I know what I don't like.
Yep.
And what gets lost in that is every relationship you ever had before failed. So we have to now second guess our premises. You might know what you don't want, but it's not clear what you do. And that's why we talk about the concept of overcorrection, people vacillating. Oh, I want a guy who's much smarter than I am. Okay, you got him. He's an arrogant son of a bitch.
Right.
But boy, he's brilliant. You could just sit and listen to him.
Yeah.
You got what you wanted, I guess.
Right.
I'm older. I need to lead a comfortable lifestyle. Okay, I got a guy with money who plays golf 3 times a week. He's never around. So you just see this kind of stuff all the time. And that's why I really ask people to tap into something that is rarely talked about, strangely.
Which
is feelings. Have we talked about feelings?
Wow. So expound on that. Tell me more. Feelings.
Here,
connecting with your own.
You went on your dating site. You found your 6-foot-tall, master's degree, 6-figure guy. You're excited about him. He's really into you. What does this say about his ability to be a good life partner? 0.
Well,
in fact, Northwestern did a study about this. The correlation between what people are attracted to and whether they have a happy marriage is 0. There is no correlation between what you're attracted to and what works. Because attractive qualities are different than important qualities.
Right.
Fine. Tall is attractive, rich is attractive, charismatic is attractive. None of these things are going to drive you to chemo.
Yeah.
None of it matters.
No.
Right? And so we can't help what we're attracted to, but let's not make any claim that when you go on a dating site, you're seeing anything resembling character or knowing how someone will make you feel. You're choosing credentials.
Right. So, but that tells me that you leave that first date. You've done the online dating. You're going to now have a date with each person, different people, 1 a week, whatever the case might be, is to walk away from that get together and ask yourself, how does he make me feel?
That's great. And let's take it one step further. After first dates, and this is week 8 of my Love You program, I have a little checklist, right? Again, silly. It's all made up. Everything I'm talking about here is made up ideas, but they provide structure for people who don't trust themselves, which is most of my clients.
Yes.
So I ask, after your first date, on a 1 to 10 scale, how did he score on comfort? Meaning, could I relax and be myself?
Okay.
Was I nervous? Was I walking on eggshells? Did I act weird because he was so cute that I couldn't be myself? You need to be comfortable. It should be easy.
Okay.
Comfort, fun. We know what fun is. If he's a good guy, but you didn't have any fun, there's no reason to go out with him again. And the last one is attraction, which is often overrated, but you need to have a baseline of attraction. No, he might not be the hottest guy you've ever seen, right? But on a 1 to 10 scale, he's got to be at least a 6. You can take a 6 and turn it into a 9. You can't take a 3 and turn it into a 9.
Yeah.
So we need a baseline of attraction to start. Okay. So if your guy at the end of date 1 is positive scores above a 6 on comfort and fun and attraction, go out with him again with an open mind. If he doesn't, you should have no compunction about letting him go and throwing him back into the sea. Okay. Nice guy. I was nervous the entire night. Right. Gorgeous guy. Didn't actually connect with him. Right. Sweet, sensitive guy. No attraction to him. Fine.
Yeah.
And now we don't waste time. His time, your time. So many women talk themselves into going out with men out of some sort of obligation. I don't want to hurt him. I've been told I'm too picky. I want to give guys a chance.
Yep.
No.
I can fix this.
You're the CEO. Men are the interns. You got to let them go.
Yeah. That's true. Absolutely. I love that. The structures, though, of your program, that you've created within the program are very helpful because, like you said, we sometimes spin in our own heads what we think we should be accepting of. This isn't that big of a deal that he spoke so negatively about his ex-wife for an hour and a half or whatever. Maybe he's just hurting.
And I could play both sides of the fence with that example, but in general, in other things in life, we have metrics. How do you know if your cookie's done? Stick a fork in it, and if it's still gooey, let it cook for a little bit longer. Right. We have measures of those things. Sure. In love, what do we have? We have our head and our heart and our damaged past. So for women who lack a GPS, I try to be their GPS that guides them in the right direction. When you can't trust your own judgment, hopefully you could trust that I've been listening to women for 20 years and I see what works and I see what doesn't. And it's not even about me. When you listen to your feelings, you don't end up in bad marriages. You exit before it becomes a bad marriage. Yeah. And it takes confidence to extricate yourself from someone that you love or has great potential. You have to let go of it. It's not serving you the way you would hopefully quit a job where you're miserable.
That's right. So what is, on that note, in closing, what do you see is the greatest shift that women make in your program?
Oh, I'm very fortunate. If you go to evanmarckatz.com and click on Love You, Love Stories, or whatever is on the page, you could see 100 wedding photos. And those are the only people who let me show their photos. A lot of people don't want to admit they had a dating coach. So there's a whole bunch of people who've come through here. And it's always really validating to get the proof of concept. This actually worked. I got the guy of my dreams. The thing that gets me even more excited is when someone graduates from Love You and says, Evan, I'm seeing a guy right now. It's going really well, but I know if he doesn't turn out to be the man I think he is, I will have no hesitation about letting him go, getting back online and finding a better one. So it's having the confidence and resilience that you're worthy of love, that there are men who could deliver it, right? It's the teach a woman to fish model, right? Not here I'm handing you a guy. Right. I'm letting you know that you would like someone who's got a resume. Hopefully you'll never have to starve because you've got a skill set. You will never have to go without love if you know what you're looking for and you could say no to the 90% fast. And so that skill set is the big shift. One other big shift before we go, because I think it's important and we touched on it briefly. Good relationships are easy. Relationships take work model. Good relationships don't take. Bad relationships take a lot of work. We're going to work on it. We're going to work on being a couple. We're going to go to couples counseling. We're going to read books. We're going to sit down. My God.
I think you know my life.
Tiring. If you have a good relationship with anyone in your life, your sister, your best friend from college, your kid, whatever, does it take a lot of work?
No. Yeah.
No. So why would our marital relationships be completely divorced from everything else? Good relationships take effort, the way raising a child takes effort.
Right.
But if it feels like work, like coal mining.
Coal mining.
Yeah, I've been married for 25 years. We haven't had sex for the past 6. We pass each other in the hallways. We grunt at each other, right? I mean, he takes me on nice vacations. I still think he's a good father. What is the point of the relationship?
There isn't one.
Right. So relationships should bring joy and lessen anxiety. If your relationship induces anxiety, I can't be myself. I can't speak my mind. I'm afraid to speak up. I'm afraid we're going to fight. I'm afraid he's going to go silent. I'm afraid he's going to ask to leave me. I'm afraid to be in constant fear within a relationship literally defeats the purpose of a relationship, which is to be a safe harbor.
Right.
So we go towards easy. We go towards safe, heard, and understood. And any relationship that's not that is not worth keeping.
Yeah. Run. Yeah. This is brilliant. To you, you've been doing this for 20 years. It's probably so simple. It makes sense because you've seen it over and over and over with your clients. But to myself, and I think to many of the listeners, this provides a context to kind of look at what have I been doing and where do I want to go with this, that is simple in many ways, but yet it's a process. The Love You program is how many months did you say?
Most people are looking for real quick fixes. I don't do quick fixes. I don't believe in quick fixes. Right. When you're going on a diet, you're not trying to lose 20 pounds in a week. You're trying to lead a healthy lifestyle that you can keep it off down the road.
Right.
So in order for us to actually see change and growth, right, and to not drown you in too much material, it's like a half-hour video material a week on the stuff we talked about, 2 hours of coaching each week for 6 months. People who are enjoying it and learning and are still in process can continue in the course as long as they want. So I teach you everything in 6 months. And then people who enjoy the other women and the community and the smart, strong, successful people who are bending about these ideas and having this conversation that I have with you, I have some version of this for 2 hours on a group call with women who are asking the same really good, thoughtful, challenging questions that you are. So you can imagine if you immerse yourself in this for a long time, you'll start to believe it and feel it. And that's the exciting part, is when you actually believe, wait, there are good men. It's not many, but good men exist. Mm-hmm. I could trust myself. I don't have to give up. Online dating doesn't have to be scary. No one could hurt me that I don't allow to hurt me. I could fire any guy who's not treating me well. Uh-huh. Right? Once you kind of embrace these principles, we call it short-term pessimism and long-term optimism. Don't expect anything from any one guy. Right? Don't expect that the next guy you meet is going to be your soulmate. Sure. But if you keep going and you go out with a new guy each week, eventually you're going to find a guy you really like who makes this whole thing worth it. Yeah. And you can have the life that you want, whether or not it has the piece of paper that we call marriage. But I will share one more thing because I can't help myself.
Do it.
Guys, who makes for a better partner? A guy who says, I really loved being married and want to be married again? Or a guy who's like, I'm so done with marriage?
Well, I think the first one.
Right. So when you're a woman who declares, I never want to be married again, who are you going to end up with? A man who doesn't want to get married again.
Yeah.
And you're going to wonder, why doesn't this feel safe? Right. Because you chose a guy who values his freedom more than your partnership.
Yeah. Yeah. As you are when you say, I want to date, but I never want to get married again. So now I've excluded myself from all kinds of men who don't want. You're anchoring yourself. You're anchoring yourself at a level. That's like saying, I want to make $99,000. Right? Okay, you'll make $99,000. You'll never make more than that because that's where you said you're aiming. If you just aim for, I want to have a guy to take me out to dinner and travel with, you can get that guy because he doesn't want a wife. Yeah. Right. So know what you want. He wants his freedom. But there are guys out there who love being married. I'm one of them. Mm-hmm. Right? If my wife got hit by a bus tomorrow, right? I'd take time to mourn. Don't get me wrong. But I wouldn't spend the rest of my life alone. Right. I would find someone who really gets the beautiful integration of a successful marriage and how intertwined you are and the positive use of the word codependent. Right? I'd be lost without my wife. Mm-hmm. That's the best kind of love. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not the one that keeps you safe. It's the one that makes you vulnerable. I'm all in on this relationship. My biggest fear is that I outlive her. And given the way she eats, I might. She's like the Oreos. And I'm like, I'll have a strawberry. I'll have the ahi tuna. She's like, I'll have the steak with the mac and cheese. So she'll outlive you. Trust me.
Probably will. But that's my greatest fear, is outliving my wife. Yeah. And that's why I'm so evangelical about marriage and love you, is I get to see these relationships. And if you live in a world where people have them, it gives you hope. If everybody you know is bitter and single, you'll tell yourself, I'm happier being single. No, you're happier being single than being in a bad marriage. That's true. If I were to snap my fingers and hand you a guy who treated you well and wanted to marry you, it'd be heavenly. Yeah. No one says no. So he exists, but you can't find him if you give up.
Yeah. Yeah. This was fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Evan. I so appreciate all of this wisdom. I need to get into Love You. So,
Okay, well, I'm going to give you and your listeners a very special link that I created, just a tiny free gift. It's a 25-page special report on the 7 mistakes that you're making in dating. Go to evanmarckatz.com. That's EvanMarckKatz.com/extraordinary. And you could download this list and get on my mailing list. And I am on every social media platform, and I have a Substack newsletter, and I have a podcast called the Love You Podcast. And so I give a whole bunch of free information out there. And if you like the free information and you want to learn about coaching, you go to evanmarckatz.com/apply, and we'll talk on the phone and figure out if coaching is a good fit for you.
Perfect. Well, I'll be scheduling, and so will everyone who's listening. So thank you.
Again, it's so kind of you to have me on your show, and thank you for thinking of me. And again, I know I'm not like a typical guest for a group of extraordinary women, but I appreciate being given the opportunity to have this space to share something that hopefully gets people thinking and acting differently when it comes to love.
Yeah, and being courageous, because this takes courage to say, I want to hear what Evan has to say, number one. And number two, I'm going to open myself up to the possibility. So every woman sitting out there, be courageous. You don't have to say, this is it. I can't find someone. And that's just the way it is, because it's not. So fantastic. Thank you, Evan.